I am so excited about the fact that when I ask people what the vision statement of the church is, people are telling me they know what it is. That's like a most wonderful development. I don't think it's happened here before. I mean, this is amazing. St. Joseph Catholic Church will be the spiritual, moral, and social heart of Eldersburg and Sykesville through our encounters with Jesus. Again, this is not said in arrogance. It's just said in the nature of what the church is. We are a parish, and this is the parish church. And last week, we talked about the fact that the Archbishop gave us 6 mission priorities. And the first one we talked about was encounter last week, because without encountering God, we cannot really be authentic in our faith. We might be religious, but we will not be on fire with God. And we have to be on fire with God to make an impact upon our area, in our parish. Today, we're going to speak of liturgy. This, I wouldn't say the second priority in a sense. It is the ultimate encounter. Let's say, so encounter and liturgy are like the first thing that we've got to get right. Nothing in this world compares to the Mass. It's just so important to realize that it's incomparable. It is holy. And an aspect of holiness is that it is absolutely unique. There's nothing like it in the whole world. Today, tonight, we have the Ravens starting their season. How many people know that? Well, as excited we might get about the Ravens game, it doesn't even remotely compare with the Mass. Now, I know you might say that's a hard thing to understand, but hopefully by the end of this homily, you will be seeing that more clearly, because in the end, it's just a game. And if they lose, we'll be disappointed for a while, but what? You'll pick yourself up, right? I understand these things, right? Okay? Just a game. But this is not just like another religious service. The Mass is categorically in a class of its own. And so when we come in to Mass, we are coming into something holy. And we have to come with that mindset. And when we enter in, we need to reverence the sacred space. You may notice that we've got candlesticks up here. Have you noticed that? Yeah, that's not really new, it's old, okay? Matter of fact, it's not only old, but it's ever new, because if you look at the book of Revelation, in the holy place of the divine temple of which Jesus dwells within, if you can speak in those terms, there's candlesticks, and he walks among the candlesticks, which symbolize the churches and his love for the churches, his looking over the churches, right? And so these candlesticks represent heaven, and the Mass takes us to heaven. And by the way, it's prescribed by the church that they should be on the altar, not off the altar, okay? And perhaps they're familiar to you because they come from the old church. And so it's part of our heritage, and those who have gone before us worshiped before these candles. So if you want to talk about it later with me, you can, okay? But we come in. It begins with an antiphon, which again is sort of new to us over the last four or 5 years. That is to set our heart in a particular mood for the mystery which we are about to experience. And then we had the processional. Back in the old days, I mean, really, really old days, the whole church would process in the church because it's a procession into heaven. And it's the saints taking their place in heaven. Then the choir was to do that, but I guess it's gotten down to just the clergy and what have you. So, but that is what the processional does, okay? It takes us to heaven. And then we have the greetings, the collect, which collects us all in prayer, and the liturgy of the Word, the Old Testament, the sung psalm, and the New Testament. And then there is the gospel. In the old days, the gospel would come out with the torchbearers in the middle because it's Jesus coming in the midst of his people, proclaiming his word. I wish we did that here. Who knows? Maybe we will sometime. I don't know. What do you think? Then there's the creed. That means it's always after this homily. With this homily, and do you know why it follows the homily? Because if the priest blows it in his homily, the creed will set him straight, okay? So that's what the creed, okay. And then there's the prayers of the faithful, right? And then all of that puts us on a trajectory for the most holy thing, and that is the holiness of the liturgy of the Eucharist, okay? And I'm not going to go through all that now, but we've said this many times, and that what it is when we bring the offerings up, we are offering ourselves and everything we have to God, because in the Eucharist, Jesus is offering himself to God the Father for our benefit, for our salvation. It is a sacrifice. It's not a re-sacrifice. It takes us back, this Mass takes us back into the original event of Christ's sacrifice in space and time when he was in the flesh. It's a time travel. Not only that, but it takes us to the future, the marriage supper of the Lamb. And all heaven and earth are coming together here in this Mass, as it is in every church and church parish throughout the world. As the world turns, this is going on. We're all united by that. Isn't that wonderful? But what you're really saying when you come up, I'm not sure if you get this, and this is what you really need to get. When you're coming up to receive Christ, you are offering yourself to God in a radical way. You're saying, Lord, as you died for me, I'm willing to die for you. And not only that, but you're willing to die for everyone else that you're partaking communion with. Do you get that? Look around you. You're saying today that you're willing to die for anybody else in here. If you're willing to die for them, you're willing to live for them and to pour out your life for them, right? And this takes us to the gospel. Jesus had said this, whoever comes to me, right there, whoever comes to me. Where do we come to Jesus? It's not in some abstract spiritual way. We come to Jesus in the Mass. You got that? Do you get that? When you come to Mass, this has got to be your mindset. Whoever comes to me has to hate his mother and father, his wife, children, brother and sister, and even renounce himself. Now, Jesus is not preaching hate here. What he's saying is that what is going on in the Mass is more important than your family. And if you put your family above it, you're missing it. You got that? You got it? This is how we approach the Mass. Not only that, but you need to take up your cross and follow me. We all know what that is, right? We have to be willing to suffer and die for one another and for Jesus. And he's asking us, when we come to Mass, that we need to count the cost. Do I really, really want to do this? Okay. But if anybody comes to me, they have to count the cost. Just like people count the cost when they build a tower, or kings count the cost when he's going out to battle to figure out whether he really wants to do this or whether he really can do it or not. Okay? And then finally, he says, so too you must renounce everything. Dear brothers and sisters. Dear brothers and sisters. Do you see what's going on in the Mass? And why it's incomparable? That it's not just a religious service. It's not something you just do. It's something that demands our very life and soul. Can you tell me anything else in the world that compares to the Mass as I just described it? Nothing. There's nothing in the world like it. Now, if we really buy into this, then we're gonna change the whole place. We'll change the whole parish. We couldn't help it. If we go out there and are sent out with that sort of experience, as Jesus is inviting us to experience it. True, people come in here and they're not going to have a clue, but there have been people who walked in here and don't know what a clue is going on, but that's okay. It takes a long time to understand what's going on here. It's not an easy entry thing for a person on the outside, but one person came in that really, really struck my attention. She said she had no idea of what's going on in this Mass. She said, why hasn't anybody told me about what the Mass is? Because people long for this. They long for something that's real and not what's phony out there. The Mass is the only real thing. It's a call to radical discipleship. Liturgy is at the heart of our evangelization. If we get it right, everything else will fall in place.